You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. I've got to start with the Yankees extending their winning streak to a dozen straight games. I hope that you stayed up for that game. I'll be honest with you, I watched every pitch. I'll say this though, you can be forgiven if you turned the game off when it was 6-0. After Joey Gallo hit the big 3-run home run to get his 30th home run of the year, you thought to yourself, okay, this is going to be a runaway, I can go to bed early. If you turned it off after 2.5 innings, okay. But if you kept the game on past that, I hope you didn't turn it off in like the 7th or 8th inning. If you did, you missed a great game. If you went to bed early last night, you missed a great game. Like I said, the Yankees stormed out to a 6-0 lead for 2.5 innings of play. The way that Jameson Taillon has been pitching recently, this lead is safe. Before yesterday, Taillon, in his last 9 starts, was 5-0 with a 2.01 ERA. In those 9 starts, the Yankees were 8-1. You really felt safe, but then the old Taillon showed up, giving up 2 home runs to Matt Chapman and Sean Murphy, walking the bases loaded, then walking in a run in the bottom of the 4th, then giving up the 2 RBI single to Elvis Andrus. Before you knew it, it was 6-5 Yankees. Then in the bottom of the 5th, Josh Harrison tied the game at 6. Now, a thought came over me after that home run. If this was the Yankees team of like 2 months ago, I'd have no confidence in their ability to win it. They're going to blow this game. It's going to be another heartbreaking loss. You wouldn't feel confident. But this is a different Yankees team. This is a Yankees team with the Italian Stallions, Gallo and Rizzo. Judge has been raking. Stanton has been raking. Gio Urshela's back. Yeah, it's 6-6 now, but the way that ball was flying out of the Oakland Coliseum, I thought, don't worry about it. The Yankees are going to score a bunch more runs. They'll be fine. That didn't happen. Through 8 innings, the score was 6-6. I mean, give the bullpen credit for shutting the door. Clay Holmes looked great. He struck out the side. Jonathan Loaisiga was great. Pitched 2 innings of scoreless ball. He ended up getting the win. But the Yankees' offense just couldn't put it together. You've got bases loaded, one man out. Brett Gardner comes to bat. You've got Luke Voit on the bench, ready to go. I don't care about righty-lefty. This is when you put Luke Voit in. He stayed on the bench. Voit did not pinch hit for Gardner, and Gardner hit into an infield fly. That was a bad job by Carlos Mendoza. And yes, that was Mendoza because Aaron Boone was tossed in the second inning after rightfully arguing a Joey Gallo strikeout in the second inning. Todd Tishner had one of the worst games I've ever seen an umpire have. His strike zone was all over the place. He started out as a pitcher's umpire, then he became a hitter's umpire. Balls were called strikes that you just had to rub your eyes like, wait, what? Did he really just do that? Terrible job by Tishner, good job by Boone in sticking up for Gallo. And plus, I can't blame him for not pinch hitting Voit for Gardner. So the top of the ninth hits. Luke Voit does come in as a pinch hitter. It's for Andrew Velasquez. Voit flies out to Starling Marte. Then DJ LeMahieu flies out to Mark Canha. Anthony Rizzo draws a walk. Here's where things got a little interesting. Tyler Wade came in to pinch run for Rizzo. I'm thinking to myself, is that really the best use for Wade? Wouldn't you want to save him until extras? Put him in at second base to pinch run for Judge if he makes out? What are the odds that Tyler Wade is going to score from first with 2 men out? Evidently pretty good. Wade stole second because Sean Murphy airmailed the throw. He went to third. And then Aaron Judge had one of the clutchest hits he's had in his career. A big RBI single, made it 7-6 Yankees. Didn't matter that he was caught stealing second. The Yankees had a 1-run lead entering the bottom of the ninth. Aroldis Chapman came on to close the game out. If you'll recall, after the Braves game on Tuesday, I defended Chapman. I said I still had faith in him. I wanted him to get the next save opportunity. Good job by the Yankees in putting Chapman in. You know that was discussed beforehand. Who's going to close this game out? Is it going to be Green or is it going to be Chapman? It was Chapman. And he looked good. He got Elvis Andrus to fly out to Gardner. He got Mark Canha to strike out. Starling Marte singled and got to second on a stolen base. That was a little nerve-wracking, but you know what? If Chapman gets Matt Olson out, it doesn't matter. And he did get Olson out. He grounded out to Rougned Odor at second base. Ball game over, Yankees win. The Yankees have won a dozen straight games. They are by far and away the hottest team in baseball. In essence, they've clinched a playoff spot. There's no way that they're going to fall out of the wild card. And I've said this before. I don't care if they overtake the Rays. I just want to get into the playoffs. Once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. In a perfect world, would the Yankees overtake the Rays? Of course. But it's not the be-all, end-all. The be-all, end-all is making the playoffs. And the Yankees are going to do that. And I've said this before, in a one-game playoff, I'll take Gerrit Cole over anyone. And if you don't think that the Yankees are going to manipulate their rotation so that Gerrit Cole can start that game, you're an idiot. Cole is starting that game. I understand the downside of the wild card. That means that you probably only have Cole for one game in the ALDS. Yeah, that's not good, but look at the Rays rotation. Okay, who scares you in that rotation? Shane McClanahan. That's it. Keep this in mind. You're not going to see Tyler Glasnow. You want to tell me that Rays bullpen is great? It is. I'm not knocking the Rays bullpen. Really talented bullpen. The thing is, though, how effective can the bullpen be if they don't have a lead to protect? I've said this before. If the bullpen is just keeping the score at like 3-2 or 4-3, that's all well and good, but you've still got to tie that game up or take the lead. There's only so much that the bullpen can do. And if the Rays are going to go with an opener strategy, I really like the Yankees' chances. Go back to Yankees-Rays last year. There were 2 games in that series where teams used openers. The Yankees used one in Game 2, and the Rays used one in Game 4. The Yankees lost Game 2, and the Rays lost Game 4. In the playoffs, the opener strategy does not work. So yes, the Yankees' rotation after Cole is shaky. But don't make it seem like the Rays have some huge advantage. They don't. After Shane McClanahan, their rotation is just as shaky. In fact, you can make the argument that it's shakier. I've said this before, I'll say it again. The way the Yankees are playing right now, the sky's the limit. They can beat the Red Sox in a one-game playoff. They can beat the Rays in the ALDS. They can beat either the Astros or White Sox in the ALCS. And whoever wins the National League pennant, the Yankees can beat them. The Yankees are peaking at the right time, and that bodes really well for their chances in October. On the other side of the RFK Bridge, there's the New York Mets. The antithesis of the Yankees. A team that can't get out of their own way. A team that just finished a big West Coast road trip that we all knew would define their season. They had 13 straight games against the Dodgers and Giants. They really needed to finish with a winning record in those 13 games if they wanted to stay in the playoff hunt. Instead, they went 2-11. They beat the Giants on the 18th, 6-2, and they beat the Dodgers on Sunday, 7-2. Both those wins took place in California, for whatever it's worth. I said in the past that I liked Luis Rojas. I thought the Mets would make the playoffs. Now, forget making the playoffs, okay? Obviously, that's not going to happen. But there's a chance that Rojas is fired. You heard the fire Rojas chants when he pulled Taijuan Walker the other day for Aaron Loop. In this incredibly important stretch of games, the Mets only went 2-11. Part of that falls on the manager. This was the moment to rally the troops and to say, this is it. This is our last chance. If we don't win these games, we will be sitting on our couches in October. The Mets started this swing of games just a half game out of first place in the NL East. They were 4 games over 500. They had just swept the Nationals. They had a big walk-off home run from Pete Alonso. You almost felt kind of confident that they could do this. Since then, they've lost every series. They've been swept twice. They're currently 5 games under 500. They're 7.5 games behind the Braves in the NL East. That's their worst mark of the season. The Mets' playoff hopes are dead, okay? We all know that. That would be bad enough. But the reason that I really want to talk about them is because of something absolutely incredible that Noah Syndergaard and Luis Rojas said. Syndergaard is making his way through the rehab process. He hasn't pitched all year. He didn't pitch at all last year. He was supposed to come back earlier this year, but he had a setback, so now he'll be back in September. And you want him to pitch in September because you have no idea what shape his arm is going to be in after missing basically 2 years of baseball. DeGrom, there's no point in seeing him pitch again. Okay, you know who DeGrom is. One of the best pitchers in baseball. You know he'll be fine. Syndergaard, you don't know. Syndergaard spoke to the media yesterday. He said that his doctor told him not to throw any sliders for the rest of the year because they could aggravate his injury. When Luis Rojas was asked about that, he was unaware of that plan. There are 2 things wrong here. Syndergaard shouldn't have said that that's what he was going to do. And he and the Mets need to be in lockstep on this. I can understand Syndergaard not wanting to throw any sliders. I don't know if that applies to his other off-speed pitches. He throws 4 pitches: fastball, changeup, slider, curve. The slider's out. The curve is probably out. Is the changeup out? I don't know. If Syndergaard is just going to throw fastballs, then he can't start. You have to put him in the bullpen. You can't start with just 1 pitch. You can relieve with just 1 pitch, but to start, that's not going to work. And I can understand Syndergaard not wanting to put himself in a position where he has to miss more time. If throwing sliders opens up the possibility of him missing most, if not all, of the 2022 season, sure. Don't throw sliders. Don't throw curves. Don't put yourself in harm's way. But for God's sake, don't say it, you idiot. What the hell is wrong with you? Do you watch South Park? There's an episode of South Park where the boys didn't want to play Little League Baseball anymore. So they had to lose in order for their season to be over. Stan was the pitcher. He gave his opponent a list of the pitches that he was going to throw in order. That's essentially what you've done here. You can just sit dead red. Forget the slider. Forget the curve. I'm just going to throw fastballs. Maybe a changeup. But for the most part, I'm throwing fastballs. If I'm a hitter and I know you're just throwing fastballs, that's paradise. If an 8-year-old kid from Colorado knows that if he wants to lose, he should tell his opponent what pitches he's going to throw and in what order, how does a 28-year-old professional baseball player not know that? You want to tell me, oh, Jacob, that would be figured out anyway? Yeah, it probably would be. But don't hand them the answer. Think about it this way, okay? Let's say you're a teacher and you're giving a test and you got the test online. The last thing on earth you would hand out along with the test would be the link to the answer key online. I'm giving you the information to solve this. I've taught you the material. We've read through the textbook together. We've watched films together. It's up to you to put it together. I'm not going to give you this URL that has the answer key. You don't need to be totally honest. You can give a Sherman-esque answer. That's okay. You watch. Syndergaard is going to get shellacked next month. I promise you. As for the other issue, the Rojas issue, if he's not going to throw sliders, if that can exacerbate his injury, okay. I get that. It's a lost season. You don't need to do anything to put yourself in harm's way now. It makes sense. And the Mets, as an organization, should say, okay, we want to see if your fastball still has life on it. That's your bread and butter pitch anyway. Sure, I have no problem with that. But you've got to tell everyone in the organization that. You've got to tell Alderson. You've got to tell Zach Scott. Maybe you want to keep Steve Cohen in the loop. And you definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, need to tell the freaking coaching staff. You've got to tell Rojas. You've got to tell the pitching coach, Jeremy Hefner, the assistant pitching coaches, Jeremy Accardo and Ricky Meinhold. You want to tell the bullpen coach, Ricky Bones, you can do that. This was on a need-to-know basis. That Syndergaard wasn't going to throw off-speed stuff. The list of people that knew at one point included the media and excluded the manager of the New York Mets. If you can't see what's wrong with that, I can't help you. This is something that should have been discussed with everyone. Syndergaard's doctor, the Mets training staff, Sandy Alderson, Zach Scott, and Luis Rojas. the fact that the manager of the Mets was kept in the dark on this is ridiculous. I can't even blame Rojas for this. Who knows who Syndergaard told? Did Syndergaard tell anyone in the Mets organization that this was what his doctor recommended? I have no idea. If he just told the media and that was it? Oh my God. That's terrible. We know that the Mets training staff is bad, but it doesn't get much worse than a player taking it upon himself to find a doctor to tell him what pitches he should and shouldn't throw, and to keep the team that's paying him in the dark. Again, I'm okay with this plan. But you can't tell the general public. The only people that you can tell are the people who need to know within the Mets organization. I mean, you can make the argument that this speaks to a general lack of respect for Luis Rojas. The fact that Rojas didn't know this, that one of his pitchers was gonna exclusively throw a fastball and maybe a changeup, is absolutely ridiculous. If I was a manager, I'd be furious about this. What was the plan? Rojas was going to talk to Syndergaard after he was pulled from the game and say, why did you only throw a fastball and changeup? Was the plan for him to find out like a half hour before first pitch? It's ridiculous. You've got to tell the manager. Someone needs to let the manager know. The disrespect to Rojas is just absurd. I mean, I spoke to my buddy Jim about this the other day. If he was in charge of the Mets, would he fire Rojas? He said no, this isn't his fault. The Mets have just been bitten by the injury bug. And he's right. But after this 2-11 California swing, I'd love to ask him again. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm torn on it. On the one hand, this free fall is absolutely unacceptable. The Mets had a great chance of making the playoffs not that long ago. Now forget about it. This is a choke job, the likes of which Willie Randolph would be impressed with. On the other hand, you take a look at all the guys who have missed time for the Mets this year. It runs a mile long. McCann, McNeil, Lindor, Nimmo, Conforto, DeGrom, Syndergaard, Carrasco, Peterson, Lucchesi, etc., etc. How much of that can you blame the manager for? I'm really torn on it. Maybe it depends on who else is out there. If a clearly better manager is available and says that he wants to manage the Mets, yeah, you probably make that move. But if there's no clear-cut upgrade, I'd probably stick with him. Alright, now I'll give you some NBA Valk talk. This'll be on the big sign-and trade involving Lauri Markkanen. He is now a Cavalier. It's a 3-team sign-and trade that also involves the Trailblazers. So Markkanen gets a 4-year, $67 million contract from the Cavaliers. In exchange, the Bulls are getting Derrick Jones Jr. and a protected first rounder in this coming NBA draft. As for what the Trailblazers get back, they get Larry Nance Jr. and the Nuggets second rounder in 2023 that the Cavaliers had control of. I hope that made sense. We had heard for a while that Markkanen was unhappy with the Bulls. He wanted out. He wanted a clean slate somewhere else. The thing is, though, this leaves the Bulls with a pretty glaring hole at the 4. Is Patrick Williams really going to start? I know that he started last year, but he really didn't set the world on fire. He averaged less than 10 points per game. If you're looking to make a big playoff push, who would you rather have as the starting power forward? Patrick Williams or Lauri Markkanen? Your answer better be Markkanen. I mean, the Bulls had a great free agency. They won the Lonzo Ball sweepstakes. They won the DeMar DeRozan sweepstakes. Obviously, they still have Zach LaVine. They still have Kobe White. They still have Nikola Vujovic. This was a team that you thought could make some noise in the Eastern Conference. Now, I don't want to say that they can't, but there's no question that they're worse now than they were 24 hours ago. Was the situation with Markkanen really that untenable that you needed to send him somewhere else on an incredibly reasonable contract? Markkanen is getting under $17 million a year. He's worth that. In fact, he may be worth a little more than that. Keep in mind, he's only 24 years old. He put up 13.5 points per game last year. 5.3 rebounds per game, shot 48% from the field, which is a career high, and shot over 40% from beyond the arc. That's also a career high. I know that Markkanen was upset about coming off the bench. I mean, I didn't get why Billy Donovan did that. There's no doubt in my mind that Lauri Markkanen is better than Patrick Williams. And that was proven time and time again last year. Now there's no issue. Patrick Williams is the unquestioned starter at power forward for the Bulls. Does Williams have potential? The answer is yes. I just didn't think that the Bulls were banking on potential anymore. I thought they were actually trying to make a go at this thing. As for the Cavaliers, I don't get this. They already had a logjam in the front court with Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and Kevin Love. I mean, God only knows what's going to happen with Kevin Love, but at this very moment, he's still a Cavalier. You have to at least pencil him into the rotation. You know he's not going to do much for you. It's not like he's going to be the player that he was with the Timberwolves or when he was playing with LeBron and Kyrie, but you have to pencil him into the rotation. So now think about these 4 guys. Allen, Love, Markkanen, and Mobley. You just signed Jared Allen to a big contract. He's starting. Love, I'm okay with him coming off the bench. Markkanen, you just signed him to a contract that pays him just under $17 million a year. He better start. Evan Mobley was the 3rd overall pick. Are you going to have him come off the bench? For the longest time, we've heard that the Cavaliers thought that Allen and Mobley could play together. That was their plan. Now is it not their plan? Is Mobley going to back up Allen? Is Markkanen going to start at the 4 with Kevin Love coming off the bench? I'm okay with that. I have absolutely no problem with that. It's just confusing given everything we've heard. And if I'm looking past this season, the Cavs have a logjam. You'll have Love. Although he's on the last year of his deal, he may not even make it through this year with the Cavs. Even if he does, he'll be on an expiring contract, so it'll be easier to trade him. I'll exclude Love from this picture. You have Allen signed long-term. You have Markkanen signed long-term. What's the plan with Mobley? Let me throw a hypothetical at you. Evan Mobley balls out. Looks better than Allen. Very possible. What are you going to do? Put Allen on the bench? What are you going to do? Trade Markkanen? See if Allen and Mobley can play together? Are you going to trade Allen? It just seems like you've opened up a can of worms here. I mean, I was never crazy about the Mobley pick for the Cavs. It's nothing against Mobley. I like Mobley, but it just plays into my theory that he didn't fit the Cavs. You can't tell me that Jonathan Kuminga wouldn't be a better fit. If the Cavs had taken Kuminga instead of Mobley, their starting 5 could be Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, Isaac Okoro, Lauri Markkanen, and Jared Allen. Their bench could be Ricky Rubio, Cedi Osman, Jonathan Kuminga, Kevin Love, and Isaiah Hartenstein. And Hartenstein played really well for the Cavs when he got to Cleveland. You can't tell me that that wouldn't be better for the Cavs than this current mishmash of guys. The Cavs roster just makes no sense to me. As for the Trailblazers end of things, I like Larry Nance Jr. I think he's a good player, solid role player. Probably best suited as a 6th man. You know he can get it done defensively. He put up 1.7 steals per game last year. The thing is, though, he only put up 9.3 points per game. Shot 47.1% from the field, 36% from beyond the arc. You don't want a guy starting like that. Have him come off the bench. In fact, that's probably what he's going to do in Portland. He'll probably come off the bench for Robert Covington. Also, what you could see at some point in the game is Rocco, Nance, and Nurkic playing together. Good luck getting anything done against those 3 guys. You've got 3 of the better defenders in the NBA. That sounds pretty darn good to me. Believe it or not, I'm actually going to say that the Trailblazers won this trade. Great job by Neil Olshey in getting them involved in the Markkanen sign-and trade. As for the runner-up, I'll say the Bulls. They did get a first-round pick. They got Derrick Jones Jr., who's crazy athletic. And if you really believe in Patrick Williams, okay, double down on him. I guess that makes sense. I'm lower on him than the people in the Bulls front office, but c'est la vie. So that means that the Cavs, by default, are the losers. Kind of interesting when that happens and they get the best player in the deal. It's kind of interesting when things work out that way, but I just think that the Cavs made the logjam in their front court worse rather than alleviating it. I don't like that. Bad job by them. Oh, and one thing to note about the protected first that the Bulls are getting, it's lottery protected through 2028. If it's not conveyed before then, it turns into a second rounder. So if the Blazers hang on to Lillard, which it seems like they're going to do, I think it's a safe bet to say that that pick will transfer this year. I think the Blazers can make the playoffs. Alright, now I'll give you some NFL Valk talk. Yesterday I spoke about the possibility that the Ravens could trade Shaun Wade. I also said that I wouldn't have minded him on the Jets. The second that I posted yesterday's show, I saw the news that Shaun Wade had indeed been traded to an AFC East team. Except that AFC East team wasn't the Jets. It was the freaking Patriots. Because of course it would be the Patriots. Like, here's the thing. Did the Patriots really need Wade? They have Jonathan Jones. They have Stephon Gilmore. They have J.C. Jackson. They needed Wade for depth. Okay, I'll give them that. But the Jets needed Wade a lot more. They need starting corners. In a perfect world, would Wade be a starting corner? Absolutely not. But the Jets' hole at corner was a lot more glaring than the Patriots need at corner. Yet somehow, some way, the Patriots make the best offer. They gave up a 5th round pick in 2023 and the Texans 7th rounder in this coming draft. So the Ravens did recoup the 5th rounder that they spent on Wade. And then some, because they got a 7th also. Granted, it's a 7th, but still, it's more than they put into Wade initially. I feel bad for Wade. Here's a guy who gets drafted by the Ravens, a team with a great history of developing defensive prospects. The thing is, though, the Ravens already had a logjam at corner. You didn't know where his playing time was going to come from. Turns out that he doesn't need to worry about that because he gets traded before he ever plays a regular season snap for the Ravens. That's just doing him dirty. I'm sorry, it just is. If you had a logjam at corner, don't take a corner! It's just doing Wade wrong. I don't like that. I hope he really gets a chance with the Patriots. He deserves that. I'll have to root against him because he's a Patriot, but I gotta say, I feel really bad for Wade. Like, there's a part of me that'll be pulling for him, and there's a part of me that'll be rooting against him. It's weird. Very weird. The Patriots do win this trade because they got a good prospect. Someone whose stock did slip because he got torched by Devontae Smith in the national title game and had a bad pro day. But I still think he has potential. I do like Wade. I think he can turn into a good player. And the Ravens never should have taken Wade in the first place. If this was their plan, to draft him just to trade him, that would make my blood boil if I was Wade. I'll close this show out with some NHL Valk talk. Specifically on the Flames signing Dylan Dubé to a 3-year extension worth $6.9 million. And this is a good move for the Flames. Dubé had a good year last year, put up 22 points in 51 games. He showed promise as a third liner. He's really young. He's only 23. So there's still a chance that he can turn into more than a third liner. And you know what? If that's what he tops out as, okay, I don't mind that. The third line is still important. Look at what J.G. Pageau does for the Islanders. And to pay him $2.3 million a year to play on the third line, again, if that's what he tops out as, that's more than fair. Good job by the Flames. This makes sense. I like this move a lot. I think I said this before, but I'll put a finer point on it. The NFL season is set to start on September 9th. It's going to be Cowboys-Buccaneers at 8:20. That afternoon, the regular episode of the Jacob Valk Show will be a big NFL preview. I'm going to go division by division, team by team, telling you how I think every team is going to do. Also, on the night of September 10th, you're going to get my New York Jets season preview, where I'm going to go position by position, breaking down everything. I'll give you my final record prediction. It's going to be a lot of fun. You will get New York Jets instant recaps after each regular season game. Obviously, except the games that I go to. I know that I'm going to go to the home opener against the Patriots on September 19th. There's also a chance that I go on November 14th against the Bills. So I'll keep you up to date on that. You'll get a New York Yankees show Monday night. Regular episodes of the Jacob Valk Show come your way every weekday afternoon. Until next time, I'm Jacob Valk, and always remember, if you disagree with me, you're wrong.